Welcome to Arcadia Dyslexia Africa, the only bilingual channel for the fight against dyslexia in Africa. Dyslexia stigma and its impact. In many African societies, learning difficulties such as dyslexia remain widely misunderstood, overlooked, or dismissed altogether. The cultural stigma surrounding these conditions creates significant barriers for affected individuals, their families, and the communities they live in. This stigma does not only cause social and emotional harm, it also restricts educational opportunities, damages family dynamics, and limits future prospects, leading to broader societal consequences. Below is a closer examination of how this stigma manifests and the transformative efforts that are slowly reshaping the narrative. 1. Emotional and psychological harm. The emotional toll on children, adolescents, and even adults living with dyslexia in African communities is profound and often lifelong. From a young age, many are labeled as lazy, slow, or unintelligent by teachers, classmates, family members, and society at large. The constant reinforcement of these negative labels leads to low self-esteem. Children grow up doubting their abilities and believing they are inherently inferior to their peers. Anxiety and depression, persistent academic struggles coupled with harsh criticism foster feelings of inadequacy, despair, and hopelessness. School avoidance and dropout. Many children with undiagnosed or unsupported dyslexia start avoiding school to escape ridicule or punishment. Eventually, some drop out altogether. Social withdrawal. Affected individuals may become isolated, avoiding social interaction due to shame or fear of being mocked for their perceived failures. In many cases, when a child or adult repeatedly hears that they are dumb, useless, or a disappointment, they internalize these destructive messages. This can shape their self-image well into adulthood, regardless of their actual talents and potential. 2. Educational disadvantage. The majority of African education systems are neither structured nor resourced to accommodate the diverse learning needs of students with disabilities like dyslexia. Several systemic challenges contribute to this educational marginalization. Limited or non-existent special education services. Most schools lack trained special education teachers, school psychologists, or remedial programs specifically designed for students with learning difficulties. Absence of individualized education plans, IEPs, personalized support systems, common in some parts of the world, are largely absent in African classrooms. Without tailored learning strategies, dyslexic students are forced to conform to rigid, one-size-fits-all curricula. Exam-centric education culture. The emphasis on rote memorization and timed written examinations places dyslexic students at a distinct disadvantage, as their learning strengths often lie in creative, oral, or hands-on tasks. Punitive responses. In some cases, children who struggle academically are expelled from school or forced to repeat multiple grades because they are perceived as disruptive or incapable. This lack of support not only stifles individual potential, but also deprives society of countless talented minds who could contribute meaningfully in diverse fields if given the right guidance and opportunities. 3. Family stress and social isolation. The stigma attached to learning disabilities extends beyond the affected individual, placing tremendous stress on families, particularly parents. In many communities, blame and guilt. Parents, especially mothers, are often blamed for their child's difficulties, accused of poor parenting, neglect, or even spiritual failings. Cultural misconceptions. Learning difficulties are sometimes attributed to curses, witchcraft, or ancestral punishment, deepening the fear and stigma. Family conflict and breakdown. The pressure and shame can lead to marital strife, abandonment, or strained family relationships. Isolation. Some families withdraw from social activities or religious gatherings to avoid gossip and judgment. In extreme situations, children with learning disabilities may be hidden away at home, denied education, or sent to live with distant relatives in hopes of escaping community scrutiny. 4. Limited employment and future prospects. Without appropriate interventions, individuals with dyslexia often leave school prematurely, lacking the qualifications needed for formal employment. This exclusion from the labor market has multiple consequences. Economic disadvantage, difficulty securing steady, well-paying jobs leads to financial instability, perpetuating cycles of poverty within families and communities. Missed potential, many dyslexic individuals possess exceptional talents in areas such as entrepreneurship, art, design, craftsmanship, or public speaking. However, the lack of support prevents them from developing these skills. Generational impact. Children growing up in economically disadvantaged homes are more likely to face barriers to education and healthcare, further entrenching inequality. The result is a silent, invisible demographic of individuals whose contributions to society are lost due to preventable systemic failures. Voices of change, shifting perspectives and rewriting the narrative. Despite these daunting challenges, a growing movement across Africa is working tirelessly to dismantle myths about learning disabilities and advocate for inclusive, equitable support systems. 1. Advocacy and awareness campaigns. Numerous NGOs, parent groups, and grassroots initiatives across the continent are driving change through community-based workshops, training sessions aimed at parents, teachers, and community leaders to improve understanding of learning disabilities and foster inclusive practices. Mass media campaigns, radio shows, television programs, social media content, and public service announcements that challenge harmful myths and promote acceptance. School-based screenings, early identification programs within schools to detect and support children with dyslexia and other learning difficulties before academic struggles escalate. Public events and dyslexia awareness days, annual events highlighting the realities of living with a learning disability, featuring testimonies, expert talks, and cultural performances. These initiatives are vital in changing mindsets, reducing stigma, and pushing for policy reform. 2. Inclusive education policies. Togo, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, and other countries' IEs have begun integrating inclusive education principles into their national education frameworks. Some countries have developed comprehensive policies promoting the rights of children with disabilities to access mainstream education. Although the implementation of these policies remains inconsistent due to funding constraints and infrastructural challenges, they mark a crucial shift toward equitable education. Other nations, including Ghana, Kenya, and Nigeria, are also taking initial steps through pilot programs, teacher training modules, and partnerships with international organizations. 3. Local champions and role models. One of the most powerful tools in combating stigma is visibility. Across Africa, individuals with dyslexia who have overcome adversity and achieved success in various fields are increasingly sharing their personal journeys. Whether as lawyers, artists, entrepreneurs, athletes, or educators, these role models are demonstrating that a learning difficulty does not define a person's worth or potential. Their stories inspire hope, challenge entrenched stereotypes, and provide young people with tangible examples of resilience and possibility. Conclusion. The stigma surrounding dyslexia and other learning difficulties in African societies is both a human rights issue and a public health concern. Its impact reaches far beyond the individual, affecting families, communities, and national economies. However, through sustained advocacy, inclusive policy reform, public education, and the courage of those living openly with learning difficulties, the narrative is gradually shifting. Breaking the silence and reshaping cultural perceptions is not only essential for the well-being of affected individuals, but also for unlocking the untapped human potential that lies within African societies. The movement for awareness, acceptance, and meaningful support is growing, and it holds the promise of a more compassionate, inclusive, and equitable future.